What is up, guys? Pie Muffin here, and we are back with another kind of Trails-related video, but also just kind of Falcom-related. But obviously, I really only talk about, when it comes to Falcom games, I really only talk about Trails on the channel, so I guess it is Trails-related. So, the annual shareholders meeting for Falcom just ended over in Japan. This is where they... I mean, as it sounds, it's a shareholders meeting. It's to get their shareholders excited for their upcoming projects, but it also gives us fans an idea of what to expect. There's no live stream or anything like the Tales streams, the Tales stream that happened the other day. That's obviously more for the fans, whereas this is obviously, once again, more for the shareholders. But they did drop a trailer for Trails in the Sky the First, which we knew was going to be coming in 2025. We also know that Gung Ho, which I didn't know too much about before this, is going to be the publisher for this, localizer publisher for it. It's not going to be NIS or Xseed for this. People thought it was going to be Xseed because the initial trailer during the Nintendo Direct showed some of the text from the Xseed script, but there's going to be some stuff in here where I'm just kind of, it's stuff I read online, that people were talking about. But from what I have heard is that apparently a lot of the older personnel from Xseed went over to Gung Ho, so it may still be, the people that did work on the translation for, Trails in the Sky 1, 2, and 3 on PC are also working on the localization for it this time. But yeah, so we have a trailer for Trails in the Sky the First. We have... I'm just going to talk about it because it was here. East 10 Nordics, which just got released out here in the West, is getting a re-release. This is very similar. A lot of people are comparing it to how... sorry for all the ads, by the way. I can't really do anything about these websites. It's basically getting the Persona 5 Royal treatment, it seems. Where, it's going to be a little more graphically updated with some new story and, just some new stuff in it in general. This is obviously kind of a weird thing to announce now because we literally just got, people in the West obviously I just got done finished playing it last month. East 10, came out obviously. I think it was in late October, I believe. East 10 came out. And I finished it 3 weeks after that. 2 or 3 weeks after that, so it's just a very odd thing because now people who bought the game but still haven't finished it are like, why am I going to bother finishing it now when this version's going to come out? So we have Trails of the Sky the First. East 10 Proud Nordics is set to come out in 2025 in Japan. This is obviously going to be like a side release because East 10 has already come out. They did also mention that there was going to be a spring release on the Nintendo Switch for East Memories of Celceta. Obviously that game is already out, but it's getting its own Switch release, and I assume probably Switch 2 once that gets announced. There was no... I'm just going to drop this here because the rest of this video we're just going to be talking about Trails in the Sky the First. There was apparently no mention of Tokyo Xanadu 2, Tokyo Xanadu new project, and there was apparently very minor stuff talked about the sequel to Kai no Kiseki, the game that is going to be coming after that, whatever it's going to be called. Obviously, we kind of expected they weren't going to release it right away. I mean, a lot of people were hoping for, Cold Steel 3, Cold Steel 4 situation, where in Japan it was literally the year after, which I guess it could still happen, but it seems very unlikely. And the reason I'm going to say that is this picture right here. Trails of the Sky the First, it's going to be the first Falcom game. Well, I don't know if it's the first, because I obviously don't know their full catalog, but the first that I'm aware of when it comes to Trails East, Tokyo Xanadu, all those things, to have a worldwide release. So Trails of the Sky the First is coming out fall 2025, which, as we know at this point, their fall game is usually their, last week of September game. And that's their big game of the year. That's because it's right at the end of their financial earnings reports. So that's why they always release it then. So this is likely their big game for next year. On the bright side, before we go and look at the trailer here in a minute, They did seemingly change their minds about only. Or we don't even know if they changed their minds or if it was just not ready to be announced yet. But it is coming out on not only Nintendo Switch, which was already announced, but PS5 and Steam. It seems like they're leaving PS4 behind, which I guess is a shame for some people. But it's also just very odd because it's like obviously the Nintendo Switch is not as powerful as the PS5. And it's not even as powerful as the PS4, but they're not doing the PS4. I guess they could always change this later, but as of right now, these are the 3 platforms where Trail of Sky the First is going to be coming out, and as you can see here, this is the English poster for it. So obviously, it is going to be a worldwide release, presumably the last week of September, which, let me just look at the calendar real quick, because it's always like the last Wednesday of September. So what is September 2025 looking like? The last Wednesday... it'll be Wednesday the 24th of September. So that is when this should come out. And then we can go ahead and take a look at the stuff over here, what it has to say, and then we'll finish things up by looking at the trailer. So Trail of the Sky the First, formerly The Legend of Heroes Trails of the Sky the First, will launch on PlayStation 5, Switch, and PC via Steam as a simultaneous worldwide release in fall 2025. Developer Nihon Falcom announced. It will be published by Gung Ho Online Entertainment in the West with English and Japanese voiceovers. So there you go. For people who play with the English voices in these games, you are going to be able to still do that. But it does tell me that they're not going to do full voicing like they do. If you obviously play the Japanese version of Trails in the Sky, the Evo edition, the entire main story is voiced, but they're obviously not going to do that here because that is so much money for such a text-heavy game. They obviously did it when they re-released the 3 Trails in the Sky games, but this is obviously a much bigger project. And then they will have subtitles for English, Japanese, French, and German. It is a full remake of the original story RPG Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky. Obviously FC, because they're obviously going to... I still don't know if they're going to split this into 3 parts, because obviously, even though Sky the Third is a very important title story-wise, and, you know, you'll have people who say it's not, and that you can skip it, blah, blah, blah. But, obviously it is a much shorter game in terms of scope, because most of the game is just a giant dungeon. So I do wonder if they're going to make it its own title, or... if it's just going to be added on into Sky second chapter. Like maybe they, well, I don't know. I feel like you still have to end Sky the First at the same point you do in the original. So I was going to say maybe you could end it later, but I don't think that would really work. So we'll just have to see what they decide to do with that. As of right now, you know, we at least expect Sky First and Sky second chapter are going to be getting full-on remakes. Unforgettable Journey Trails is a story RPG that celebrates its 20th anniversary in 2024. To mark the significant milestone, the first entry in the series, Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky, is being fully remade. Liberal Kingdom, the setting of the story, has been fully recreated in 3D, and all the distinctive characters, including Estelle and Joshua, have been refined. In addition to exhilarating and stress-free combat, which allows seamless switching between the 2 modes, field action and command battle, which obviously we already know about in the Calvard games, or I guess the one that's out in English so far, about to be the second one, you'll be able to switch the same way you do in that, where, you know, you can do some combos in the field and then obviously switch to turn-based when you're ready to do so. Each character's crafts and arts are on dynamic display while maintaining the scenic image of the Liberal Kingdom. The game includes a variety of quests and numerous side activities that allow the player to fully experience the feeling of traveling across the kingdom from their own perspective. Obviously, it's going to be the same as in the original, where, you know, each town you go to is going to have its own bracer guild, and there's going to be side quests to do, and all that stuff. Obviously, this is all just story stuff that we already know. Classic Reborn. Story that unfolds like a long-running TV drama and sold over 8 million units, you know, the series as a whole. And I think that's pretty much it here. Yeah, so now we can go ahead and go over to the trailer itself. And we can go ahead and let this play. Obviously, I've already watched it, so... already just looks amazing. Just right out of the gates, even that just first combo with Estelle. I'm just thinking about how many, memorable scenes are now just going to be recreated with, like, the modern animations. Yeah, obviously stuff isn't finished being translated yet, so you still have this text in Japanese. They just basically subtitled over the Japanese trailer. So yeah, you can see here they were showing the action combat, and then obviously the animations for turn-based combat. Obviously Joshua's S-Craft right there. Okay, so that's something new, obviously. I think it's going to be similar to, like... So, like, obviously in Cold Steel we kind of had this, where it was like... it went all the way up to Reverie. You've got, like, the follow-up attack. So obviously you can just do the normal strike, or you can just do the team strike. I don't know what this one is, but obviously we'll find out as time goes on. I do love that they're doing the whole... obviously the orbments and Trails in the Sky were more like pocket watches, so you kind of have the cog wheels kind of like that. And then obviously on the side, the kind of turn-based layout part of it is more like Cold Steel than it is the Daybreak games. But obviously so it's like a mix of Daybreak action style with like the field combat with the turn-based style that obviously Cold Steel through Reverie had. Alright, so now showing all our characters. Zin, Tita, Agate, Chloe. There's Cassius. We're getting our first look at some of the nice animations. The flashback scene with Estelle and Joshua. There's Olivia, Charizard, then Joshua and Estelle. An unforgettable journey begins. And there's our full artwork of the whole cast. Trails in the Sky... Trails in the Sky first chapter, coming fall 2025. So, like I said, since it's the fall release, if they're going to be following Falcom's usual schedule, then it should be the final week of September when this releases, which, of course, I will be doing a playthrough on the channel of this. Even though I already have Trails in the Sky first chapter on the channel, it'll be fun to do another one and kind of compare, the differences we see, because they did mention in a previous... segment that some of the things we've learned over the course of the games that kind of changed the past will be implemented here. So, like, for example, stuff like, obviously this isn't gonna, I'm trying to think of things that will affect the first game. There's really not a lot that I feel like would affect the first game. It's not till second chapter and the third. So, like, obviously the stuff with the DG cult that we kind of learn about, that can be incorporated. Maybe more of the characters that got rescued from the cult, or more characters that were involved in eradicating the cult. We might learn more about that in the Sky games, as well as obviously characters like Van, who have played a part in previous events, even though he didn't exist in the actual lore back then. They obviously only added it when his games were made. But stuff like that, they said they were going to try and incorporate into the story. Which, obviously, when it comes to Sky Third, I imagine they're probably going to rework or add some more, like, Star, Moon, and Sun doors to kind of make that work into it. So, like, obviously, the stuff from Daybreak that we know about, Van meeting Ren and then kind of pushing her back towards Estelle and Joshua, we might get that actual scene of us seeing that, or that story, in Sky Third, but we'll have to wait till we get there. But I think for Sky First, there's not too much I can think of that's really going to be changed. Like, obviously, we know why Cassius goes to Erebonia during Sky the First. And, obviously, everything that's kind of been laid out for that. So we may learn more about that as things go on, but we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, so let me know what you guys think down below. Let me know if you're excited for Trails in the Sky first chapter remake, and I guess let me know what platform you're going to be buying it on. And like I talked about before, Kai no Kiseki sequel is in the works, but odds are it is not going to be coming in 2025, as sad as I am to hear that. But on the bright side, NIS America should have that game out. The first Kai no Kiseki should have that out probably by the end of 2025. They're just going to have to figure out how to work it around this, because obviously they're not going to release Kai no Kiseki in September alongside this. So I feel like they're either going to release it before or after. We know Trails Through Daybreak 2 is coming out in February 14th on Valentine's Day. So I think probably their best option is to get Kai no Kiseki out either during the summertime, do it like June or July, or do it after Sky the First comes out and try to get it out before the end of the year. So then that way, everyone is caught up when it comes to Kai no Kiseki. So Western and Japanese fan base will both be on the same page when they make their announcement for the next mainline Trails game that will follow Kai no Kiseki next December. But we'll see what happens. Anything could always change. I mean, even all this stuff is just a lot of changes for Falcom. So who knows? Maybe they're more ahead of the game when it comes to the sequel than we thought, but we'll see. So that's going to be it, guys. Hope y'all enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe more if you're new to the channel. I'll see y'all next time. Have a wonderful day, everyone.